Welcome. My name is Melinda Hart. You are watching Stamping with Hart. You can find me at my blog, which is stampingwithhart.blogspot.com. And like I was just saying a moment ago, this is the free online card class. I'm calling it Flowering Tulips because that is the bundle that I'm going to be featuring tonight. So let me show you. I'm going to give you guys a little peek at the catalog just to give you an idea as to how this class is going to go. I am making all 4 cards on the live tonight. I'm going to walk you through the products that we're going to be using. We're going to be talking about it a little bit, and then we're going to put our cards together. If you have any questions throughout the live, do not be afraid to ask me or let me know. If you would rather not leave a comment on the live, you can always direct message me as well. So let me just give you a little peek of the catalog here. So I am referring to our mini catalog. This is our January to June 2022 mini catalog. If you need a catalog and don't have a demonstrator, let me know. I'd be happy to send you one. And I'm going to turn to page 15. So pages 14 and 15. I will always say how beautiful the samples are in the catalog. Oh, it's just, they're always inspiring. And I am going to be working with this bundle right here. So where you see the number 1 on page 15, the Flowering Tulips Bundle. Okay, so I wanted to point that out because there is a difference between an entire suite of products. The suite is called Flowering Fields, and you can use one item number to purchase literally everything on this page. Okay, so this whole thing is considered a suite, and you can see there's 2 bundles here. I am working with the Flowering Tulips Bundle, and I just wanted to make that clear right out of the gate, just so that you knew the products that we're working with tonight. I will not be working with Tulip Fields. I will not be working with the ribbon, but we will be using these adorable brush brass butterflies, and we will also be using this gorgeous Flowering Fields Designer Series paper, 12 by 12 double-sided. So I'm going to show you a little more close up what this is all about, the Flowering Tulips Bundle, and then I'm going to get into the ordering special. So here is our stamp set. Okay, so here is Flowering Tulips. I went ahead and I stamped everything out. Now, of course, you're seeing the same imagery here, but sometimes you'll see a little note on the front that says these images are done at 90% and not 100%. So I just wanted to show you what these images look like full size. You can very clearly read these fonts. They're nice and big, but they're not, you know, the whole card size. So you can still get really beautiful tulip imagery here with your sentiments. And then of course we have, you know, some stems here. We have some leaves. This is actually, I should have done this in a darker color, but I was just using the same color here. The inside of the flower. And then we have a 2-step stamp, but honestly, they also look really beautiful in the single stamping. So just however you would prefer to do that. And then you have a variation of tulip petals, just depending on how they're opening or how in bloom they are. So that is the stamp set. This is a photopolymer stamp set, which means they're clear and you can see right through them. Okay, and we love that whenever we're trying to do positioning, especially if you're going to do 2-step stamping, which we'll get into in just a moment. The other thing that I wanted to show you, and oh, you know what? Let me go over this too. So if you get intimidated or if you've never tried 2-step stamping before, I always do practice sheets. I always play with my colors and my inks and things like that with my stamps before I decide what I'm going to do. I did a practice sheet where basically I was like, which one is the inside and which one is the outside? What is the inner color? What is the outer color? So these were both petal pink because I was just trying to decide. And then I added Calypso Coral. So I made this one the inside and this one the outside. I'm not saying that there's any particular rule to it. That's just how I decided to do my 2-step stamping. That was what I preferred when I was looking at the imagery. So you can do whatever works for you. Again, they're beautiful even if you just do the single stamp, but you do have that capability to do multi-step stamping if you want. And then let me show you this. So these are the 4 cards we're going to make, and we're going to go through these as we make each one on the live. But I'm going to sneak in this little die sheet right here, and I'm going to tell you why. There's a lot of dies here. Okay. So, you know, a lot of dies initially is like, it's a good thing, right? Like, yes, of course, I love it. But then when you start looking at all of them, you're like, wait a minute. Especially if you're not used to flower building with dies. I don't do these all the time. So I was like, I kind of need a guide. Like, I just kind of need to look at this and figure out what's going to work for me. So you're definitely getting your value in terms of the amount of dies that you're getting. And you can make some really spectacular tulips just with your dies. But you can do this in a combination of stamps and dies, or one or the other. So if you want to start with stamping, start with your stamp set. If you love die cutting and you want to have fun with this, you like paper piecing and puzzles, you're going to love this. But I laid all of the dies over top of the cut images because when I saw this one, like these single tulip flowers, I didn't realize at first that there are 3 of them. So there's actually 3 of these. And you can, you know, use them all, but I just want you to know you're not seeing double or triple. There's actually 3 here. And if you're cutting things and like, oh, am I using the right tulip flower? You have multiples, so it's totally fine. And then I'm just going to move my lighting a little bit closer to me. It looks a little dark in here for some reason. Just let me know if you guys are having any trouble seeing this. Okay, so we have 2 different stem sizes. And I'll go over our ordering special in just a moment. I'll leave that there in case anybody wants to check it out while I'm talking. But yes, so here we have 2 stems. We have this smaller, thicker stem, and then we have this long, thin stem. So beautiful. And then some of these dies are frames that are intended to cut out the stamped images. So here we have this really fun little squiggle, and this would cut that out. Okay, so you're going to have a lot of that when you're cutting out, you know, your dies. So just so that you know the difference there, this is going to cut out your big flower, and these are at 90%. So just remember, it's 10% smaller than how they actually stamp. But this will cut this one out, and so on. So just in case you were wondering, these will cut these out. Okay, and then I wasn't sure if I should stamp and die cut these, but I just wanted you to know. So we have the frames for your stamped images. All right, so that's what we just went over. But we also have your builder tulip dies. These are independent, so you don't need to worry about stamping it and then putting your tulip together. You can automatically do that. So these dies here that look like they're either doubled or they have like 3 sections to it, these are your builder tulips if you want to build a die cut flower and not worry about the stamping. And then you have that single petal. We have a little split double petal here. And then we have these more intricate pieces. And on the inside, right here, there's a line. And that is so that you could easily bend them. It scores as you bend them. So you don't have to worry about scoring it. It's already done for you. All you have to do is die cut and just glue your flowers together and build them up on your card. So that was about the simplest way that I could think of to explain it. And then of course we have our not petals, I want to say petals, these are leaves. We have our leaves here, and then you also have your stamp leaves. Okay, and then we also have a stem that you can stamp as well. So this will cut out this stem if you want to stamp it and die cut it, and so on and so forth. So these, I think, cut these out. Yes. Okay, so if you want to do that, you can. If you just want to cut out the leaves, it looks just as good, just as cute. Okay, so totally up to you as to, you know, how simple or how fancy you want to be with your tulips. So this one here and this one here I wanted to save these for last. We're actually going to use this one on our live today. And I'm going to do a separate project on another day with this one because I didn't want to do too much in one class. But you'll see more than one project with the tulips from me. But these are dies that cut in. Okay, so we have all of these pieces that cut out, and they just, when you run them through your die cutting machine, they just pop right out, and they're just an independent piece that you hold. These cut into your paper, which means you're going to get these intricate tulips in the field here, but this stays on your cardstock. So this is kind of like an edge die cut piece where this can stay like fully on a piece of the petal pink paper. And if you've ever made a card before where you kind of cut that edge out and you had your fancy edge, but you had the rest of the card piece there, then you know what I'm talking about. But if you haven't seen it, we're going to do it tonight. So this also cuts in. So you're going to have all these little squares that will cut out. So if you want to use them for something else, you can. But this is a design that will cut into the paper. And here is an example of that with one of our cards. So here I cut this image into the cardstock. And it stays there. So it's not an independent piece that comes out. You're going to get all the little squares that come out. But if we want this overall design, that's going to stay in the cardstock. And I saved on my card pieces that I cut out in advance. I did not cut this so that we could do this together, because I know if you're new to dies, you may not understand, or you just may be new to it and want to know more. So we'll do that together. But I just wanted you to know this is really a powerhouse of a die set. And if you guys have any questions, let me know. I'm just going to pop all these little pieces back on here because we're going to move this aside. I just really wanted you to kind of walk with me through those products just in case you hadn't already seen it. Okay, so we have two sizes here. So let me correct myself. We have the small and then we have this larger size here. These two lines here, I was thinking were slightly smaller, but they're not. So small and large butterflies, so cute, and they're flat. So this is pretty nice on your card. It doesn't stick up too much like some of our gems can kind of stick up. This is really a narrow piece, but it really does pack a punch. Look at that. So if you really love our brushed metallic cardstock and things like that, this is that same look. Really, really pretty. As you can see, I've already sort of dug into my paper, but really, really beautiful. So let me move this one aside. You can see I've used that one up quite a bit. This was one of my favorite pieces. I absolutely love this. And, yep, and I'll show you the difference here. So let me just show you this one. So we have two different versions of the fields. We have ones that are kind of coming out at a diagonal, and then the ones that are straight across. And then this is the opposite side of that piece. So beautiful. So that is the designer series paper. These are the products that we're going to be working with today. Okay. So as part of doing my free online class, anybody can watch this. So anybody can watch this tutorial, how I put these cards together, how I stamp them. If you are interested in the ordering special, if you place a $50 or more order from me before tax, using the new host code, and I have the host code posted in a bunch of places. I'll post it again on Facebook, the link after I'm done here. This host code for 1 week, so today through the 24th of January 2022, you will get 4 card kits from me. You'll get a PDF tutorial of this class, and you'll also get a free gift from me as a thank you for ordering during our new catalog and our Saleabration. And in addition to that, because you're spending over $50, you're going to get a free Saleabration reward. So when you place your order and you enter your host code, it's going to ask you to choose whatever Saleabration item that you want. So you would go ahead and choose that. You're going to get your order from Stampin' Up. So let's just say you order the bundle from me today, you know, whatever products it is that you wanted to get. Then you choose your Saleabration item, and those things come from Stampin' Up. These custom card kits that I'm talking about here, those and the little free gift and the PDF tutorial are going to come from me. So if you guys have any questions about that, let me know. But this is a really fun way to get the card kits, the things that are already done for you. And I set these cards up in advance so that we can put these together on the live and so that you can sort of see what the card kits look like when they come from me. So any questions about the ordering special, just let me know. You have to use the host code in order to get the ordering special. It's just the way that we have to do it. And then my website is here if you have any questions. So I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to put this right up here and we'll start making our cards. But like I said, if you have any questions, just let me know. The last thing that I wanted to mention, which card should we make first? This one's kind of fancier. So let me go for the simpler. This one is also a little bit fancy. Let's start here because this one's nice and easy. I did two that were really, really simple. And then two that we put, you know, we have a couple extra pieces and steps to it. And still totally easy and doable, but just a little bit more to it than the first two cards. And I like to do it that way so that you can kind of warm up and have those really simple projects and then kind of our little stepped up projects. So we'll work on this card first. But I also wanted to mention, and let me grab my Saleabration brochure just in case you aren't familiar. So this is the Saleabration brochure. You can also view all of the Saleabration items online. There's a lot of things that you can choose from in here, a really nice variety of products that you can get free if you spend $50 or $100. But if you are really loving Stampin' Up! Products, if you have a really big shopping list, if there's just so many things that you're seeing in the new catalog that you would love to get, consider the starter kit. Okay, so this is a great way to save. It's the best value that Stampin' Up! Has. You can get $125 worth of products for $99. You choose what you want in your kit. So you customize it. If you had a certain combination of items that you wanted to get, you can absolutely do that. And just for Saleabration until February 28th, you can get 2 additional stamp sets for free. So if you think about that in terms of our class today, you could actually get the Flowering Tulips and the Flowering Fields stamp sets for free. 2 extra stamp sets in addition to the $125 of product that you choose. Plus, whenever you purchase the starter kit, you get to join a really awesome crafting community called the Lovely Stampers. Absolutely just fun, inspirational, cool place to be. So if you just love seeing people making card kits, if you love hanging out in the Facebook Lives, if you're just really enjoying the products and you seem to always have a list of things that you want, the starter kit is just such an incredible place to start. I mean, you get so much value for it, but then once you actually purchase your kit, you get a 20% discount. And I didn't even mention the fact that when you get the starter kit, you get free shipping on your starter kit. So once you're actually a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, you get a 20% discount. You get to be part of the crafting community, the stamping community. You can share inspiration if you like, or just be inspired by others. You can have as much or as little interaction as you want, but it's such a great value. So I highly suggest it. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to let me know. And let's go ahead and get into the kits. All right, so for our first card, here is our first card kit. So when you receive a card kit from me in the mail, this is what it looks like. You're going to get it in a plastic sleeve. You will also get an envelope. If I didn't mention that, I didn't tuck envelopes in these because I'm making these, but you will have the opportunity to have an envelope there if you want. Okay, and then the pieces will be cut for you. And if there's extras, I will still give it to you. Okay, so this square got cut out of this frame. This was the original piece. So if I have a leftover piece, I will put it in your card kit so that you can do something fun or pretty with it. Okay, so for this particular card kit, we have a piece for the outside and we have a piece for the inside. And that's just because Evening Evergreen is a really dark cardstock. So if you wanted to write a note, you really wouldn't be able to see. So that's why we're doing our little extra right there. So you don't have to worry about the stitched rectangle cutting dies or anything like that. All of those kits will be cut for you if you're interested in the ordering special. And then for this particular ink, we're going to use Pumpkin Pie and Soft Succulent, which I thought was kind of a cute combo. So, and they, you know, I took my notes from the Stampin' Up! Designers with the colors there. So I'm going to open these two. This is card number 1 of 4. And what I would suggest, and it's totally up to you, is that you kind of frame in your basic white piece. Just kind of get it where you're happy with it, and then stamp so that you know you're kind of centered. Totally up to you, but I would definitely suggest that. And then let me go ahead and get this sentiment, which is, let today be the start of something new. I love the variety of colors in this designer series paper. There are so many of them. Oh my gosh. If anybody has this paper, if you've been, you know, playing with this set, you have to let me know in the comments. I didn't know what to think when I first saw this. I was just like kind of blown away by what I was seeing in the catalog. I was like, I don't know. I mean, I don't grow tulips, but I really feel like I need this set. So I thought, I'm not going to get both bundles. I'm going to start with one. And I started playing with it and I was like, this is going to be a class. I love this set. So I don't know if you've ever done that where you're looking through the catalog and something strikes you and you're like, I don't know, but I'm going to try it. And then you get it and you think, oh my goodness, look at what I just did. Oh, you guys, I think we're okay. Hold on. I totally moved my paper, but you know what? The stamp is nice and crisp and clean. So I think we're good. Let me just make sure. Yep. All right. So we're going to go with it. But yeah, I have those moments where I'm like, I'm so glad I got that. All right. So now this is the Soft Succulent. And then this is that little pattern stamp that has like the little plus signs on it. There are 4 of them. It's this little stamp right here. And it's just a nice little accent. So I decided to just kind of go at an angle above the sentiment and then another below. So nothing too crazy here. All right, and then that's pretty much it for the stamping on this card, unless you would want to stamp a sentiment on the outside. I did not do any inside sentiments for this card. I stuck with all outside, so you can design your insides however you would like. So let me, and look at this. So perfect example of double-sided paper. Is that gorgeous? So depending on which piece you want to use, I just love that. They both look fabulous. Okay. So I'm going to put my glue, before I make a mistake, I'm going to put my glue close to my cut out rectangle so I can get the basic white piece glued down first, and then I'll glue the whole back panel. All right, and I'll go back and forth between the tutorial and the comments. So if I miss you, I will definitely go back and check. Okay. Now I'm going to do my whole back panel. I'm still going to be careful around that inside rectangle frame. We can glue this piece down. So I will also score the cardstock for you if you get the card kits. And let me just make this nice and crisp with the bone folder. So helpful. And with your glue, you have a minute to sort of position that before it sets. If you need to kind of get that straight edge there. I did get my middle sentiment slightly crooked. That's okay. Part of the charm of handmade, right? So there is card number 1. This is without the butterflies. This one is with. So let me go ahead and add a couple of those. So we have 2 baby butterflies and then 1 big butterfly. And I just kind of put them around my sentiment. So let me do that again. I'm going to do pretty much the exact same thing that I did before. All right, so if you want that little extra addition, you can do that, but the card is still super cute without it. And that is card number 1. Okay, so I'm going to move on to my second card now. So here's our second card kit. Okay, and I'm going to put this down. This card kit is Mango Melody, by the way. So that's a color that I don't use quite enough. But this is one of the ways that we get to have fun with this. Whenever we do these classes, we can use things that maybe we don't typically use all the time. I use pumpkin pie a lot, but I always sort of forget about Mango Melody. I don't know about you guys. You'll have to let me know. But Mango Melody, as you can see with this, is one of the coordinating colors. So just in the basic build of this card, you can see these are our 2 main pieces. And we're going to stamp our tulip, of course, on our basic white stitched rectangle. And if I make any mistakes, I may have to cut another one, but we'll see how we do. We're going to stamp our sentiment right onto the card base, but the fun is doing this little peekaboo. So one of the best parts of doing dies that cut into your card or cut into a piece of the designer series paper is you can have a little panel, another color, tuck it underneath, and it gets to shine through like this. So if you're wondering what this random piece is, that's basically what we're going to do with it. The other thing was I decided to sneak in some iridescent rhinestones in the center of this flower. So if you're somebody who really loves bling, or you're making a card for somebody who really appreciates some extra embellishments, you can do that. But just know there is a stamp. You don't have to use that. There is a stamp that will stamp the inside of those little tulips, okay? I just went a little bit, crazy with my rhinestones. And by the way, before I forget to tell you guys, here we go. The iridescent rhinestones, I'm just going to give you a sneak peek. This is not part of the tulips suite, but I love them and I use them on anything I can pretty much stick them on. They're on low inventory. So we have a low inventory alert on that, and I'm just going to give a heads up whenever I see new products kind of getting low, so you guys can, if you were planning on ordering them, you can get those. All right, so here we go. We're going to do this next step. We're going to do our stamping first. So our colors are going to be Petal Pink and Calypso Coral for this tulip. And we're also going to use Pear Pizzazz for our stem and our leaves. And I'll show you what I did with my stamps. So if you guys get a little intimidated with the 2-step stamping, or you haven't tried 2-step stamping, I'll show you a way that I kind of make it a little bit easier on myself. So I stamped them ahead of time. I stamped them before class and I marked them. Okay. So if you guys aren't sure, these are just 2 little Post-its. I did my step 1 and my step 2. So my step 1 is my lighter color. So that's going to be Petal Pink. And our step 2, our outline color basically, is going to be the darker color. And that's just what I chose for my design. And that's going to be Calypso Coral. So let me do that first. And we'll do our Petal Pink first. Hopefully I cleaned that. Let me just make sure, because I did use these right before class. I'm going to give that one a quick clean too. This is the Simply Chamois for anybody who may not know. It's fabulous. And let's go ahead and get some color here. You can have your flowers go in whatever direction you want. I kind of focused with that top petal going upward. So I'm going to do that here. Just give that a good stamp. And then for my second piece, we're going to do Calypso Coral. So let me just switch this out. This is my step, yep, there it is, my step 2. And you can see here, we have that same flower shape where that petal is up on top. And so I'm going to try to keep that as close as I can. And I'm just going to line this up. So this is one of the good things about the photopolymer stamps is you can get that line up. I have my phone in my way, so if you guys see my head, I apologize, but I'm going to try to get this as close as I can. We'll give that a minute to stamp, and we'll see if I got it right. Yeah, okay, we did great. So if you want to stamp that little center to your tulips, you can do that there. I'm going to stamp the stem in Pear Pizzazz. And the design that I ended up liking was doing my stem where there was actually just a little slight gap, just a teeny tiny gap. If you don't like the gap, you can go right up to the edge. I just kind of like the look. Okay. You think you have everything ready before your class. Here we go. And now we're going to do our leaves. Okay, so let's do this leaf here. And on this, sometimes I go back and I look to see what I did. And it looks like I had it going this way. All right, so there we go. And I'm going to keep this out because we're going to stamp our sentiment with this. So let's do that actually while we're working on this. And we're going to go right to the edge of the bottom center of our card. And we're going to do the happy birthday sentiment. I love the size and the font on this. That looks pretty good. I'm going to put that at a slight angle if you guys don't mind. And right to the edge. All right, so no one deserves a happier birthday than you. Now our little extra step on this is that I'm actually going to cut that die, that design into this piece of designer series paper. On this card, if you're going to be cutting these, you know, at home on your own, you want to make sure that your design is on the left because you're going to put your layering rectangle on the right. And then we're just going to run this through. So I'm just going to do this right about here. Hopefully you guys can see that okay. And we're just going to run this through our Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. All right. And so what we end up with are these pieces here. Okay, so this cuts out, and then we are gonna just layer this onto our card. So if you do like to have these little extra squares, you're gonna get them. So if you're somebody who loves making shaker cards, consider that die. Okay, and then I'm just gonna set this aside. And we're gonna do these panels first. So we're gonna take our little Calypso Coral panel and we're gonna glue that down. We wanna make sure that where we glue it, it's gonna be visible with this piece here. So you can do just a little bit of glue around this spot and put that down so you know it's gonna be hidden. And that's what I'm gonna do here. Going to go light on the glue, just enough to keep it in place there. I'm just going to cover that. Just going to flip it around. Just want to make sure I don't have any glue oozing through my squares. So we're just going to adhere that little panel, and we have our little peekaboo, design. Okay, and then we're going to put this whole piece down. I didn't feel like I needed Stampin' Dimensionals or like I needed any height on this, but if you feel like you do, you can certainly do that because there's that little extra piece of cardstock. I really didn't think it was that bad. Okay, and now I'm going to glue this. I'm going to kind of go upper left corner here. Still want to have that border. We want to have that little frame of our Mango Melody card base. You have a nice straight edge there where your sentiment is. And then we're going to take our stamped panel and we're going to add that right here. And again, I just used glue for this part of it. This kind of keeps the card more on the flat side. And remember, those, the brushed butterflies are pretty flat too. So there's a little bit of dimension with those, but not nearly as much as you might see on a rhinestone or a gem. Now the rhinestones that I'm going to be adding to the center, those definitely have some dimension on them. Okay, so you can keep that in mind. If you want to keep this flat, use the stamp. All right, and so that's the card without the embellishments. Now we're going to add those little extra touches. So here is our butterfly. We're going to do 2 large here and then next to our flower. And we're going to do a little baby down here by our sentiment. Isn't that cute? Okay, and then let me get my iridescent rhinestones. Look at these things. I don't know if you guys can tell. I mean, that's so gorgeous. They're like pink and purple and green, just depending on how you angle those, which I know is like defining iridescent, but still, it's one of those magical things. So I used about 5 of the small in the center as a cluster on my tulip. And that's just to give it a little bit of wow. A little bit of wow factor. But you can absolutely use your stamp. Okay. Use as many as you want. You have so many to use here. Let me see if I can get you a count on these. And the butterflies, the brush butterflies, they're honestly a little bit different than anything I've seen so far. The way that they're laser cut, or I don't know if they've officially been laser cut, that's how they look. And with that brushed top, with how thin they are, they're very unique. So you would get 80 of the brushed metallic butterflies, the brushed brass butterflies, let me correct myself. And then on the iridescent rhinestones, you would get 200. So those are fabulous. Okay, so here we have our finished card. So that's card number 2. Now, because Mango Melody, it's bright, but it's still light, you can write your note or you could stamp something on the inside here without needing that inside panel. Totally up to you, but I'm not going to include it. I didn't think we needed it. And we'll start putting this together. So this is a Calypso Coral card base. I have a layering piece of Petal Pink cardstock for the inside this time. And then we're doing that pop of basic white on the outside. And then we also cut our tulip. And on this tulip, I decided to change up my cardstock color so you guys could decide what you liked better. I kind of like to vary it a little bit if I can. But this first one was Pear Pizzazz. And this is Evening Evergreen. And that is definitely a jump in color. Okay, so you guys can let me know which one you like better. We're going to do both. So we have our card that's already done. And fun fact, I was like, I need to remember how I put this tulip together. So I literally folded it and put it in my card kit. Oh gosh, the things we do. All right, so let me score this. Get my bone folder here. All right, if you're going to stamp that inside piece, you can do that. That's where we would set that on the inside. And one of the reasons why I cut it at this dimension is because we're doing the peekaboo again. I absolutely loved, I love dies that cut into the cardstock and don't exactly cut out. So whenever I see an element like that, I try to use it wherever I can. And I just wanted to have that little peekaboo of Petal Pink on the inside. So that's why that base is a little bit different, okay? And then here, we're gonna do just a really simple stamp. So we'll just frame this in, okay, just like that. And it's the same exact thing that we did on that first card where we're gonna kind of line this up and then stamp. I don't wanna glue it down just in case I make a mistake, but that is what I would recommend. And then we'll build out our tulip and we'll glue it to the side there. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of leave this here and hope that I have that about right. Doesn't have to be perfect. We're gonna use Evening Evergreen ink for this, which I think you guys know. If you watch me regularly or have watched me recently, you see me use Evening Evergreen a lot. Absolutely. If you want an alternative to black, Evening Evergreen is that's your ink right there. Okay, so same with eyeliner, am I right? Has anybody ever just gotten really tired of black eyeliner and you're like, I don't want to do black eyeliner, I don't want to do brown eyeliner, and then you switch to something cool like navy or dark green? All right, just looking for my stamp. And this is one of the coolest stamps I think that we have out right now. So this one is the You Are So Thoughtful Thank You. I'm just gonna ink this up. Let me move this to the side. Okay. Now I'm going to just go straight down. There we go. Okay. And that's it for the stamping on this card. So not too bad, right? So let's glue this panel down. Look at how pretty that is. So even if you wanted to do the opposite side, absolutely gorgeous. Okay. Here we go. I'm just going to glue this down. The one thing I will say is make sure your tulips are going in the right direction. Now, if you order the cart, you know, if you place your $50 order or more, I will cut this for you. So you won't have to worry about the tulips being the right side up. But if you're doing this at home, you're cutting these card pieces on your own, just make sure your tulips are going in the right direction. Okay. And then with our panel, I'm going to die cut that piece one more time. We're going to cut that right into the corner, and we're going to focus on the lower right corner for this card base. And if you have any little extra bits left in here, usually you can just drop your die once or twice, or if you have the little brush tool with your take your pick tool, you can use that too. Let me just get that plate on. Hopefully I'm not shaking the camera. All right, and we're just going to remove that piece one more time. I'll clean that off later. I'm the queen of doing that. Okay. Initially, when I got this set, I was like, I don't know if I should make cards with this in January because who's thinking about spring yet? But honestly, I'm so glad I did. With it being, we had a big snowstorm. With it just being so snowy and icy outside, it is so nice to see the brighter colors. So what we're going to do is we're going to glue in this panel here, our petal pink panel. And what we want to do is just be mindful that we're focusing on this lower corner of the card base so that our peekaboo works. So it's okay if you have a little extra space up at the top. I'm just going to slide this slightly. Okay, so we can get that as close as we can. And let's see how I did. Okay, so just fine. So as long as you focus on that lower right corner and go as close as you can without the squares going off your card base, and you should be just fine. Okay, so then our next piece that we're going to glue on is our panel. And if you want to keep it really simple, if you don't want to do the die cut flower, I mean, this is still beautiful, right? You don't have to do those die cut pieces unless you're ready or you want to. But I think once you start playing with it, if you're new to dies, you're going to love it. I know that there are so many of, at least the demonstrators I know, that really love these flower pieces. Really, really love those. Okay. So I'm going to put that down. All right, and then the next thing that we're going to build out is our flower. So now we're going to work with our stem and our leaves. Woo, Just dropped one. Hang on. There we go. All right, and it looks like I had my smaller one here, and I definitely recommend if you're doing, you know, some paper piecing or some die cut piecing, just play with this and get it to a place where you're happy with it before you start gluing it down. So even though I have this upside down, do I have this piece upside down too? I do. Look at me. Okay, so I have these kind of going in the direction that I like. I'm going to pull that out a little bit, and then I'm going to look at my tulip here and see, am I liking that spacing? Okay, and I don't want to cover up my design if I can help it. So I'm going to focus on this area here for all of our pieces. So I'm going to glue my leaf down first, which may sound weird, but this is kind of how I make sure I get my positioning right. Okay, and I'm just going to kind of pop it right. Whoops. That's a little higher than I want, so I'm going to go sort of back down again. If it's wiggling on you like that, just give it a good press. Okay. All right, so I'm going to put my stem on now, and you'll have a little bit of give with your leaf if you want to tuck it in, or you can layer it right over. That's what I'm going to do. Just layer it right over. Okay. And then I'm going to put my upper leaf on next, our smaller guy. And that one, I'm going to do a little overlap here, go right over the square design. If you want a little extra security with your leaves, you can even do a little glue dot if you wanted to. Okay, and then here, let me just walk you through my tulip piece. So the die is this piece here, so this little 3-leaf piece. I folded the 2 pieces in, which kind of make that outer tulip. Then for the second piece, it's another 3-piece, but let me just show you the difference. There's a smaller petal on this side. So, and you don't have to do this many pieces. This was just what I started to do. This is kind of like that little tulip bud, right? So we have the tulip bud inside here. And then I decided to tuck the single one last. So that was how I built my tulip, and that's basically the same exact way that we're going to reconstruct it. So I'm going to glue this piece to the back of the tulip first. I'm just going to give that a second to adhere. Okay, and then I'm going to put a little dot down so I can get my baby leaf, or not my little petal, let me say that. Our little baby petal, we're going to fold that down next. It's going to take a minute to glue if you're using the multi-purpose glue like I am, so just be patient with it. Okay, and I put my glue on the lower portion here. I didn't go all the way up because we're going to tuck this last one in. Okay, so just do that on the lower portion there. And once you feel like it's sticking, just put a little glue on this one and tuck it in. I'm going to do a little extra here because it doesn't want to close. So I am rushing. I shouldn't be rushing, but I am rushing for the sake of the live. Okay, so then as we start to see this come together, even if you have a little glue coming out of the bottom, it's okay because that outer one is going to pop out on you. Okay, it's okay. We're going to get some glue on that. A little bit of glue on that, not too much. And then I'm literally just going to hold this together. So we're just going to give this a second. So I'm going to get a good bit of glue on the back of here, and we're going to go right over the edge of our stem. Okay. And I can tell you that single tulip petal is coming up higher out of this one than the first one, so you can see which one you like better. That wasn't intentional, but we'll just go with it. Okay. I love it. I love the way that looks. Okay, so this is without our butterflies, but let me just bring this in because we do have a few differences here. We have the darker leaves. We have a little bit more flower, right? It's coming up a little bit more out of this tulip. So this one seems to be blooming a little more. Everything else is about the same, and we're going to add those brushed brass butterflies. It's brass that catches me every time. I keep wanting to say metallic because of the cardstock. Okay, so I'm going to put one here, and we'll put one right underneath the flower. And I can't, oh, I did do a baby. So you might not be able to tell, it's kind of subtle, but I have a baby up here on the white flower. So we'll recreate that. Kind of that rule of threes, right? With design. It's not just for decor, it's for cards too. Okay, so that is card number 3. We got one left to go. So I'm going to set this one aside. And let's do our last one. Okay, so here's our last one. This is the one that sort of had the most pieces. So let me see. Oh, here's my card kit right in front of my face. Okay, so this one has the most pieces to it. And let me just kind of show you the construction of this. I am gonna score this. This is a Pear Pizzazz card base, by the way. And the one color that I was really surprised to see, Stampin' Up, every time they come out with designer series paper, let me just show you this. In the catalog, you can kind of see their colors here. There's more than this though, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So here you can kind of see the main colors that they're recommending that you can coordinate with your paper. But the one that I was really surprised to see and that you don't see here, let me show you. Just a little fun fact for you. If you keep this little piece of cardboard whenever you get your designer series paper packs, if you're really big on coordinating colors like I am, it lists all of them. Okay, so here you're seeing all the colors that it's like, yep, check, check, check. Rich raspberry. I was really surprised to see that color. So you're going to see just a little bit of that rich raspberry, okay, here on this piece of designer series paper. And I thought it tied in really well with the flowering fields, and I think they did too, because the reverse side of one of these is the flowering fields tulips. So I just thought it kind of matched back really beautifully. So I wanted to use that piece. And then the other thing, we used So Saffron. So I thought that was really nice too. So spring. And honestly, I started thinking about Easter projects when I started putting these together. So if that's on your mind, if you really craft ahead of the curve, you know, if you're thinking about Easter, if you're thinking about Mother's Day, there's actually a Mother's Day sentiment in the stamp set here, and it's going to be perfect for Easter. And some of the sentiments are like, love you so much, you know, so if you're sending an Easter card, but you don't actually say the word Easter, you can still use this set. Okay. So here's how we're building this out. We have our 2 layers here. And I still wanted to see a little bit more of the fields. So I decided to hide a little rectangle kind of sort of behind my other ones. Okay, just peeking through because I wanted it to look like a whole piece of the paper without it being a whole piece of the paper, if that makes any sense at all. So again, we're going to keep it really simple with stamping. We're going to use Highland Heather ink for this one. You could also use fresh freesia or rich raspberry if you want to stick with those purples. Fresh freesia is kind of like a pinky purple, in all honesty. All right, and then let's see. What did I do with that sentiment? I think I put it, yes. Right? Just thinking of you today? Yep. Okay. So we'll do our stamp first. Let me move this slightly to the side. Okay. And is that the right side up? Sometimes it's hard to tell. Okay. Let me move this leaf so that you guys can see this clearly, just in case. So let me put that leaf with the stem, and here we go. So just thinking of you today. Okay, Pear Pizzazz is also a lighter card panel so that you could write or stamp on the inside without needing that extra piece. Totally up to you. But now that we've sort of walked through the construction of this card, I'm just going to start gluing pieces down. So do your best in terms of your positioning, just depending on if you're doing this at home or if you're crafting along with me. Isn't this beautiful? You talk about Easter. Okay. Sometimes it really hurts to cover up the paper. Okay, that's why we collect, right? The designer series paper collectors know what I'm talking about. All right, so I'm gonna lay this down. And as far as I know, you guys, I did check the inventory status report today, and the tulips are not on there, which is good news. That means that all of the tulip products are available, as far as I know. You know, things change quickly, but as far as I understand, you should be able to order those bundles or the paper. Okay, so we have that first panel down. Now the second thing we're going to do are our So Saffron panels. And what I would say is focus your glue on this side and let this side lift up a little so that you can tuck this in if you want to eyeball it. So we're just going to want to have a little bit of border there. And then I'm just gonna kind of frame that in. Okay, and when I say frame that in, I mean I'm just kind of looking at my edge here of my designer series paper. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side, but put the glue on the reverse. So this edge kind of in the middle there, we just want to leave that middle part open. And let me see if I can, I kind of sort of, let me grab some glue from here. You don't need to glue this down too much because it's going to be secured underneath all of this other cardstock. But what I'm trying to do is just make sure up and down here it's looking straight. Okay, so it's just kind of stepped down, looking straight, and then let's get this piece here. Okay. All right, I think that all looks pretty even. So we're going to glue on our next panels here. I would say that you could do this with either of those tulip field patterns, whether you're doing the ones that are straight across or at a diagonal. All right, and then let's get this panel on. Almost there. Whoops. Make sure your tulips are in the right direction. Okay. Here we go. Let me just, that looks really good in terms of lineup. I'm really happy with that. Sometimes when you're doing, you know, several rectangles, you might get a little tripped up with your lineups, but actually that came together really nicely. And I think part of that is because we're following this sort of linear pattern with our tulips. Now this is the one piece that I put on Stampin' Dimensionals. So you don't have to use dimensionals, but I just thought that this really looked cool with this popped up. And of course, if you want to add other elements like ribbon, you can do that. There's beautiful ribbons, especially like, well, all of the new ones, right? And technically, if you got this suite, there's ribbon that comes with this. But I did not use that tonight. So that's just something to keep in mind if you want to add those extra elements like bows or ribbon. You could do that, or vellum. That would be really pretty with this. And then I'm just going to put that right in the center. And then for this card, I did 2 butterflies, and I just did one above and one below. So we're going to repeat that here. So one above and one below. So when you guys get card kits, the one thing that I did want to just mention or shout out, oh, we did 2 babies. We're going to do 2 baby butterflies here. And I'll do one in each direction. So one flying this way and one flying that way. Okay, so if I'm cutting card kits, there is variation in this particular color. So let me show you what I mean by that. I can't guarantee, which variation you'll get. Just know you'll get a pretty piece. So when I was cutting out my edges, like you can see, there's a little bit of that dark rich raspberry here and here, but on this piece, it's a little more lighter purple. So I will do my best to make sure that everybody who gets their card kits gets that touch of the rich raspberry. But with some of the variations and patterns, just the way that Stampin' Up! Did it, you might get a slightly different piece than what you're seeing on the video. Okay, and that is card number 4. So let me bring these cards back in. I will go over the ordering special one more time. I'll go through comments one more time, just make sure that I'm answering all of your questions or saying hello or reading your comments, because I really appreciate you guys being here with me. It really does mean a lot. Okay, so here is one of the cards. Here is the second card. Here is the third card. It's kind of hard to stack them, but let's see if I can kind of squeeze them in over here. And then here is the fourth card. So let me just tuck these in kind of behind. Okay, and so there are our card kits. So there's 4 total. This is what they look like when you make bunches of them, which just makes your table look so pretty. And then let me go through comments. All right. Oh, Marsha, I'm so glad you like the cards. I'm so glad. That means so much. I was trying to make cards that were simple, but they still like really stood out, like Paper Pumpkin, you know what I mean? Let's see. Yeah, I think I've gotten everybody's comments from now. Thanks for hanging out, Mom. You're so sweet. All right, so let me just review the ordering special just one more time. If you've already heard it, you don't have to stick around, but if you want to, you are more than welcome to. So the ordering special is 1 week only. Okay, if you spend $50 or more with me in the online store using this host code, and I'll put a link with the host code in it in the live after the video is over, you're going to get 4 card kits from me. So you will get 4 card kits pre-cut just the way that we assembled these cards on the live. And all you have to do is the stamping, the gluing, and then you would adhere your own embellishments however you would want to. But you would get the card kits, all of the paper pieces, cardstock, and envelopes from me. And then you'll also get a PDF tutorial of this class, which means you're going to get all of the products that I used, the list. You're going to get all of the measurements for each card, all of the colors, everything if you want to recreate these in bulk. And you're also going to get a free gift from me for making a purchase with me during, of course, our new catalog launch and Saleabration. So this is going to go on for 1 week, January 18th, which is today, through January 24th, 2022. And after that point, you can still use the host code, but you won't be able to get the card kits. So that is the difference with the ordering special. And like I've been telling you guys all along, this is new for me. I've never done an ordering special before this year. So I would love to hear your feedback and what you think of it. But so far, it's been really well received. And I'm going to be doing one more class on February 1st. So if you haven't already liked my Facebook page, if you haven't already signed up for my email list, make sure you do that, because the people who are on my email list were actually able to see the cards this morning that we were going to make on the live. So typically when I do a Facebook Live, I will give a sneak peek of what the project's going to be ahead of time on my email list. So, and of course, if you like my Facebook page, you'll get notifications anytime I go live. So thank you so much. If you have any other questions, just let me know. I appreciate every single one of you being here, including my mom. So that was so sweet. And I will see you guys again on This is Tuesday. I'll see you on Thursday at 7:30 p.m. with our next project. All right. Oh, hi, Mary. How are you doing? Have a great night, everybody. Bye-bye.